Hey, my legion, how y'all doing? When you see stuff like this, and like this, you know it's time for one thing: science fiction movie review. Ha 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 ha. Well, let me turn on the light. Just want to do a little bit of special effects for you. Yeah, the movies I wanted to review were two movies I saw on Netflix. One was last night. I was planning on watching both movies last night, and I fell asleep. Uh, movie I saw last night was one called Cog, and the other one was a movie called The Beast with a Million Eyes. And these are numbers 90 and 91 of the most underappreciated movies of the world. Both these movies are on Netflix. Let me open up a thing of 7 Up 10. Wet my whistle a little bit while I'm talking about these cool movies. Like I said, they have a bunch of old sci-fi movies on Sci-Fi Channel. And the one I've been wanting to see for a while was Gog. I keep wanting to say Cog, it's Gog. And basically, what this is about is like an underground bunker. Has like 5 levels, and it's controlled by this brain machine called Novak. And it does stuff for like our potential journeys into space, like different climate controls, seeing how much radiation a body can stand, different experiments with radiation, different experiments with rocket travel, all this other neat stuff. And Novak controls everything. And Novak is the brains of the whole operation, stuff like that. And something weird happens. There's a little bit of animal experimentation at the beginning. It's not real. It's just pretend. Nothing happens. Where they have this monkey and they inject him and they put these probes on him and then they freeze him and then they bring him back in this one room. It's a closed-off room. It's not real. It's just fake. Good at special effects, though. Nothing happens to the monkey. They have like a stuffed animal and they bring him back and he's fine, right? And then the one scientist goes in there, and then the doors close, and then the whole experiment starts, and he freezes to death. And then the one assistant comes in to see what's going on. She freaks out, it locks on her, and she freezes to death too, when it goes on by itself. So this one guy from a scientific investigation comes to investigate the whole bunker, the whole underground bunker, right? Where they do the experiments and stuff. And they don't know the exact location because Novak controls everything, the brain machine they have there. And he goes to investigate. He finds out all about the 5 levels, and there's more explanation of what goes on in this place. They must have spent some money on it. It's still a somewhat low budget, but they did spend a little bit of money on it. And there's these two robots, Gog and Anti-Gog, I think the names are. And a whole bunch of stuff happens and the robots start wreaking havoc somewhat. I don't want to tell much else. The one thing I remember about this movie as a kid is they had a real famous production still of the movie. I've always seen it. It's the only thing I've seen in the movie. I heard a little description of it, and then I ever seen one of the robots with one of the metal claws that got around the guy's throat like this, and the guy's like that, trying to take it off. And I thought it was kind of violent for back in the 50s or 60s, you know. And then I was waiting for that scene because I wanted to take a picture of it for the thumbnail. Cause I'm not going to get off Google Images. I'm going to try to do my own thumbnails. And that clear shot's not in the movie. It's just from an angle. Because apparently they must have thought it was too violent too. Because that shot is not in the movie. That direct shot. It's like they show it from like an angle. It's really weird how they do it. And the movie's very interesting though. And I'm not giving away anything else. No ending or nothing like. But it ends a lot differently than what I thought it was going to end. So I give it points for that. It's on Netflix. It's really cool. The biggest distraction is the robots look a little silly because the faces look somewhat similar to Rosie the robot from the Jetsons. That's a big problem. I got a. I think I got a. I think I still have a thumbnail of the robot that I'm going to put on my thumbnail for the video. Well, that's GOG. I give that hearty 9 out of 10. It's a really good, entertaining movie. And the other movie is ooh man, excuse me, Beast with a Million Eyes, which I remember seeing a long time ago on a late night horror show. And after I do the review, I'll talk about my history with our own local late night horror show back when I was growing up as a kid. I remember seeing it. And the only thing I remember is a close up of the dog, and now also they show the alien at the very end for a few seconds, and I laughed because some of the aliens look silly in these movies. I did laugh. They tried to make it look scary, and it looked silly. I don't want to say what it looked like. And basically, at the beginning, he even tells his whole. The alien even speaks at the beginning of the story. He says, "I'm here to take over your planet. I'm here to control the weaker-minded creatures first, which are animals like birds and dogs and cattle and cats and stuff like that, to turn against humans. And then he's going to go after humans in in an effort to take over the world." And he said, "You may know me as the beast with a million eyes." And then it starts the credits, and it looks like a real teeny tiny spaceship with these things that revolve around, and it makes this real annoying noise, and it's in it's in the desert, and just a densely populated area, and it's like some farms around the area, and you see like birds attacking some people and some chickens and a cow, and a little bit of family drama. One thing hits a little close home. One little thing I ain't gonna get into, but it's really interesting. Uh, I don't want to give away a whole lot, but I mean, the animals start attacking humans. I don't want to give away much more. The aliens still look silly, and I don't want to give away much of that. But I mean, the ship at the end looked a lot bigger at the very end of the movie, but before that, it looked real teeny tiny. I don't know if that's just bad miniature or what. So, Beast with a Million Eyes is a great idea of what to really use when you have almost no budget. There was somewhat of a budget in GOG. There was almost no budget in this movie, and it shows you what you can do with a very limited budget on a science fiction movie and keep it interesting. So I give that a mellow 8 out of 10. So those are my two 90 GOG and 91 Beast of Million Eyes most underappreciated movies in the world. I want to go up to at least 100 and then end the series because I started it. I haven't done a video back in for a while with Corvette Summer, which is 84. I've done movie reviews after that. I should have added some on, but oh well. I'm gonna keep going. I got a few more to go before that's over with. And I want to talk to you about the history of my late night horror, local late night horror show we had. Well, basically, growing up, my mother wouldn't let me watch horror films. They kind of story my life with my mom, and I was able to watch a handful of movies. Like we actually went to the drive-in to see The Deep, which I guess was kind of like a horror movie, but it's more action adventure now. But as a kid, in second grade, I thought it was more like a horror movie. And then we saw Fun with Dick and Jane, which I really enjoyed. The Deep was cool, but I think I like Fun with Dick and Jane better. And we saw a couple horror films. We remember seeing Land at Time Forgot, and I remember seeing King Kong in fifth grade. And then around sixth grade, they had a horror show, a late night horror show, local horror show, Saturday night. That was kind of like my gateway in a lot of horror films. Because I didn't see that many because my mother wouldn't allow it. And then I guess my dad said I could watch these, I guess, because they're old from the 50s and stuff. It's called the Late Night Horror Show with Jim Cook. He didn't dress up in any costumes or anything like that. He was a radio personality, really popular at the time. I don't know whatever happened to the guy. And it started at midnight because there'd be the local news at 11 o'clock, then 11:30 Benny Hill. Benny Hill was really funny. And at 12 o'clock with this show, he'd do an introduction, a little bit of comedy. He had like a little set. And then the first movie was like sponsored by Pizza Hut, so it was only one commercial interruption. That was a Pizza Hut commercial. And then after that, this is back when it was more like really big budget. They had like a serial of the old Buck Rogers cliffhanger show, and then they had something called Cluck Rogers with a rubber chicken that they did themselves. And then they had the second movie where they had viewer mail, and then they had the second movie, and that had like regular commercial interruptions in it. One was I saw Beast with a Million Eyes on that, and that show went on for a little while, and then it got taken off, and it was off for a little while. And then they came back with another version of the show called the Just Right for Late Night Horror Show, which was good, but it was kind of like a cheaper imitation of the other one. The host was still by the same guy, and that was on for a year and a half, and it got taken off. And then Elvira came on, and Elvira was on for a little while. And Jim Cook went right after Elvira. Elvira came on at, I think 11:30 right after the news, and it was over with at 1:30. And Jim Cook had a new show called Night Rocks. Either with it might have been called Jet Rocks, and it was like a half-hour music video show. But we didn't have cable at the time. Our source of music videos was Friday Night Videos on NBC, and then that. And then later on, when that show went away, he did like an all-night, from like 2 at night to like 6 in the morning, called Night Rocks. And that was an all-night music video show that was pre-recorded. And that was pretty much my history of that. Elvira was only on for a couple of years, and then I have like a couple of videotapes of her horror show. And also, I saw one episode of her horror show in Germany when I went to Linderhof, Germany. They had like So Sad About Sarah, which I've seen before. And I don't know what happened to Jim Cook after that. After I went in the army. And as far as like cable was concerned, uh, cable came about in 1978 with Showtime. And the very first show on cable television was a Showtime special with comedian Richard Klein. I remember they had like a 20th anniversary of HBO with Richard Klein doing another comedy special. I think they showed the original one, and then they showed a new one with him in it. And it came out in 1978, and we didn't have cable because we lived out in the country. And back then, cable wouldn't come out to us. Now it goes out everywhere. And the first time I really watched cable was when I went over to my aunts and uncles who lived in North Carolina back in summer of 6th grade, I think. And we remember seeing like a movie called Hot Stuff with Dom DeLuise, Smoking the Man Part 2, and More American Graffiti. I remember seeing those shows. And then, coming back, we didn't see much. Our grandparents apparently had cable, but when we went over there, they shut off the TV and they yelled at us to go to church. Just by ourselves, walking to go to church, stay there for a couple hours so we don't have to deal with you. So that was crazy. And my mother had cable. I especially found out about when she moved to Erie, and then when we moved to this trailer park, we finally had cable, and my dad had everything. He had Showtime. He had HBO, Showtime, Cinemax, and Encore. And Encore was only $1 a month back then. And he didn't have Disney. Disney was another pay channel. I'm glad we didn't. I would never pay for Disney now. Disney now sucks. It used to be really good, but it's terrible now. And we had cable for a while until they switched to digital, and then everything got all screwed up. I liked it when it was just one Showtime, one Cinemax, one HBO. It could be one Stars and then one Encore, And then, whenever I got home in 1990, I got out of the Army in 91. That's when we finally had cable, finally. Because basically our cable channel was Canadian TV. That's why Diane and I have some of the link, because we grew up with Canadian TV. And we used to watch City TV on upstairs TV back when I was still in high school, because they had like 3 movies in a row on both Friday and Saturday nights, and they were usually uncut. So that was my history of the late night horror show and also of cable. And also, I got caught up on the last 3 episodes of Under the Dome because I kind of stopped watching because it kind of was disappointing. Finally, it's getting good with Jim Renee forcing those guys to throw the egg, which is the power source of the dome, over this cliff, which was a way to get out of the dome. Apparently, as soon as he threw that off, the egg was outside. It no longer powers the dome, and the dome's going to hell. And then that whole way of escape closed up. The show's jumped the shark big time, but it has gotten better. It is getting better now, so I look forward to seeing the next episode, which probably won't be till this weekend because I start night shifts again tonight, so I'll miss it. And I guess that's it. And I got to work on doing a Mill Creek Mall video about why that's pointed like a gun towards city. I mentioned that, and I'm going to talk with Robin about that, and also the one about histories at other restaurants. I got to write that down and really think about that because I got some good histories of restaurants that are no longer there. Like I talked about Loblaws on that potato chip review of those chips that Meredith sent me. And my small history of Loblaws in Erie, And I talked about my history with the Late Night Horror Show and cable, and also what's going on with Under the Dome. Under the Dome, this new season is finally starting to get somewhat good. It's jumped the shark, and Hopefully won't be back for another season. Well, anyways, I digress. Going back, number 90, GOG, really good movie, and 91 Beasts with a Million Eyes. So until next time, everybody, please take care, my legion.